there is a moment, and if you are watching this, you have probably already felt it, where something inside you goes very quiet. Not peaceful quiet, not the kind of quiet that comes after a long day when you finally sit down and exhale. This is a different kind of quiet. It is the quiet of a person who has started to disappear. It is the quiet of someone who woke up one morning and realized they could not remember the last time they felt safe in their own home, safe in their own skin, safe in the presence of the one person who is supposed to love them more than anyone else on earth. The most terrifying part is not the realization itself. The most terrifying part is that somewhere deep down, you have known for a long time, you have known something was wrong. You have felt it in your chest when they walked into the room. You have felt it in the way your body tensed before they even opened their mouth. You have felt it in the way you rehearsed conversations in your head before having them, not because you wanted to communicate better, but because you were trying to survive the response. That feeling is not anxiety. That feeling is not paranoia. That feeling is your body doing the one job it was designed to do above all others. It is keeping you alive. Today, I am going to show you 6 secret signs that a narcissist does not just want to control you, does not just want to diminish you, but actually wants you gone. And I want to be very clear about what I mean by gone. I am not only talking about physical danger, though that is real, and it deserves to be said plainly. I am talking about something that happens so slowly, so quietly, so cleverly, that most people never even name it until they are standing in the wreckage of their own life, wondering how they got there. I am talking about a deliberate, calculated, patient campaign to erase you, to erase your health, to erase your mind, to erase your sense of self, until there is nothing left of the person you used to be. And the cruelest part of all is that it happens while someone is looking you in the eye and telling you they love you. But before we go any further, I need you to do one thing right now. Subscribe to this channel, because what you are about to hear is not content. It is not entertainment. It is a lifeline. And every video on this channel exists for one reason only: to make sure you see clearly, think clearly, and get out safely. So hit that subscribe button right now and let us get into it. The first secret sign is what I call the health hostage dynamic. This one is so subtle, so disguised as everyday irritation, that most people who are living inside it have never once called it what it actually is. Here is how it works. You get sick. Not dramatically sick, not rushed to the hospital sick, just ordinary human sick. A headache that will not quit. A pain in your side that has been there for 2 weeks. Exhaustion so deep that no amount of sleep seems to touch it. And instead of concern, instead of the warmth and care that any decent human being would offer someone they love, you get something else entirely. You get sighs, you get eye rolls. You get a strange, heavy silence that somehow communicates that your illness is an inconvenience, that your pain is a performance, that your body failing you is a personal affront to them. They tell you that you are overreacting. They tell you it is stress, that you are too sensitive, that you always make everything into a crisis. And because you have been hearing this for months or years, because your own judgment has been so thoroughly dismantled by this point, part of you starts to wonder if they are right. Maybe you are dramatic. Maybe you do not actually need the doctor. Maybe you should just push through. And so you do not go. Or if you do go, they find a way to undermine it. They question the diagnosis. They mock the treatment. They forget to pick up the prescription or pick it up a week late without apology. They create conflict and chaos right before your appointments so that you walk into that doctor's office already destroyed, already unable to think straight, already presenting as exactly the anxious, unstable person they have been telling everyone you are. This is not carelessness. I need you to hear that clearly. A person who forgets your medication once is careless. A person who consistently, repeatedly, reliably fails to support your health in 100 small ways is not forgetting. They are choosing. And what they are choosing is a version of you that is sick, dependent, too weak to leave, too confused to fight back. Because here is the truth that changes everything. Your wellness is a threat to them. A healthy you thinks clearly. A healthy you has energy. A healthy you starts to notice things, question things, plan things, and a narcissist who has built their entire world around your compliance cannot afford for you to be well, so they keep you sick. Not always with dramatic cruelty, sometimes just with indifference so consistent, so cold, and so total that your body simply stops being able to fight. Pay attention to how this person responds the next time you are hurting, not what they say. Anyone can say the right words. Watch what they do. Watch their face in the moments when they think you are not looking. Because in that unguarded moment, you will see the truth that no amount of gaslighting can hide. A person who loves you is pained by your pain. A person who wants you gone is relieved by it. The second secret sign is financial suffocation. And I want you to sit with that word for a moment. Suffocation, because that is exactly what it is. It is not financial disagreement. It is not different spending styles. It is not the ordinary tension that comes when two people with different backgrounds try to build a life together. This is something far more deliberate, far more strategic, and far more dangerous than any of that. This is the systematic removal of your ability to survive independently. And once you understand it for what it truly is, you will never be able to unsee it. Here is how it starts. In the beginning, it often looks like generosity. They pay for things. They handle the accounts. They tell you not to worry about money, that they will take care of everything, that you should focus on other things. And it feels good. It feels like being loved. It feels like having a partner who is capable and responsible and wants to provide. But slowly, so slowly, you barely notice it happening. The generosity curdles into control. Suddenly, you need to ask before you spend. Suddenly, there are questions about where the money went, why you needed that, whether it was really necessary. Suddenly, your access to the account that has both your names on it requires a conversation you dread having. And somewhere in that slow drift from partnership to permission, you stopped being an equal and became a dependent. And dependents do not leave. That is the point. A narcissist who wants you gone financially will do things that look on the surface like bad luck or poor planning or simple thoughtlessness. They will lose jobs or leave them right when you are about to get stable. They will make financial decisions without consulting you and then present the consequences as a shared problem. They will quietly open credit cards in your name that you do not find out about until the debt collector calls. They will drain savings accounts and explain it away with stories that almost make sense but leave you with a feeling in your stomach you cannot quite name. And all the while, they will spend freely on themselves. Meals out with friends, new clothes, subscriptions and gadgets and whatever else signals to the world that they are doing just fine, while you are rationing groceries and lying awake at 3 a.m, calculating whether the electricity bill can wait another week. And when you bring it up, because eventually you have to bring it up, the conversation never goes the way a normal conversation about money would go. You do not sit down and look at the numbers together. You do not problem solve. Instead, you get accused. You are materialistic. You are ungrateful. You do not appreciate everything they do. You are obsessed with money. And suddenly, somehow, the conversation that you started because you are genuinely frightened about how you are going to eat next month has become a referendum on your character. And you leave that conversation not with solutions, but with shame. Shame for needing, shame for asking, shame for not being better at just making do. This is the mechanism. This is how financial suffocation works at its deepest level. It is not just about the money. It is about what the money represents. It is about what gets removed along with it. When you have no financial autonomy, you cannot leave without a plan that takes months or years to execute. You cannot afford therapy that might help you see clearly. You cannot afford a lawyer. You cannot afford a deposit on an apartment. You cannot afford to tell the truth to the people around you because you are too ashamed of how bad things have gotten. You become trapped, not just by the relationship, but by the material reality the relationship has engineered around you. A cage built not from iron, but from debt and dependency and the slow erosion of any belief that you could survive on your own. Here's the piece that most people miss entirely. A narcissist who is doing this to you does not experience it as cruelty. They experience it as smart. They experience it as control that is working. Every time you come back to them, after swearing you were done, every time you stay past a point where your dignity demanded you leave, every time you beg for access to money that is legally yours, they feel powerful. They feel confirmed. They feel like the architect of a situation that proves, at least to themselves, that you need them, that you cannot survive without them. That the story they tell themselves, a story where they are indispensable and you are helpless, is true. But here is what I want you to understand, and I want you to let this land somewhere real inside you. The fact that you are still standing after what has been done to your finances is not proof of your helplessness. It is proof of your extraordinary resourcefulness. The fact that you have managed somehow on less than you should ever have had to manage on is not evidence that you need them. It is evidence that you are far more capable than they have ever allowed you to believe. You have been surviving in a drought and calling yourself weak for being thirsty. You are not weak, you are exhausted. And those are not the same thing. Watch for the pattern, not the individual incidents, which can always be explained away, but the pattern across months and years, because a pattern does not lie. A pattern does not have bad days or communication problems or stress at work. A pattern is a policy. And if the pattern in your relationship is that, your access to resources consistently shrinks while their comfort consistently grows, you are not living in a partnership. You are living in a system designed to keep you exactly where you are. And the first step to getting out of any system is simply seeing it for what it is. The third secret sign is the erasure of your world. And I do not mean that metaphorically. I mean it in the most literal, practical, measurable sense possible. I mean the people who used to call you. I mean the friendships that quietly dissolved. I mean the family dinners you stopped attending, the group chats you went silent in, the colleagues you used to laugh with at lunch who now feel like strangers. I mean the version of your life that existed before this person arrived in it, a life that had texture and color and people in it who knew your name and were glad you existed. I mean, all of that, and the fact that most of it is gone now. Not because you chose to let it go, but because it was taken from you one small calculated move at a time, so slowly and so cleverly, that by the time you noticed, you were already alone. This is the third weapon in a narcissist arsenal, and it may be the most effective of all six, because it does not just hurt you, it blinds you. It removes every mirror in your life except the one they hold up. And the reflection in that mirror is always the same. It is a version of you. That is difficult, unstable, too much. Not enough, lucky to have them, lost without them. When the only voice left in your life is theirs, you have no way to calibrate. You have no one to call at midnight when something happens that does not feel right. You have no one to look at your situation from the outside and say the words you most need to hear. You are alone with their narrative, and their narrative was built to keep you small. Here is how the isolation happens, because it rarely looks like what people imagine when they hear the word. It does not usually look like being locked in a room or having your phone taken away, though those things happen too, and they are worth naming. More often it looks like this. It looks like a comment dropped after you come home from seeing your best friend. A comment that is not quite a criticism, not quite a complaint, just a seed. Something like, she always seemed a little fake to me. Or, I just worry about the energy she brings into your life. And you brush it off. Of course you do. You love your friend. But the seed is planted, and the next time you see her, some small part of you is watching for the fakeness, listening for the wrong energy. And then over time, without ever being told not to see her, you see her less because it is easier. Because the silence that follows when you come home from her house is heavier than the joy of being with her, and you are already so tired. Then it happens with your sister. Then with your colleague who used to make you laugh. Then with your mother, who they have painted so consistently and so skillfully as toxic, controlling, the source of all your problems, that you have started to believe it yourself. And now when she calls, you feel complicated instead of comforted. You cut the call short. You stop calling back. And the distance that grows between you and the people who love you is not something the narcissist ever forced. It is something you chose freely every single time, except you chose it in an environment that was engineered from the very beginning to make sure you would always choose them over everyone else. What makes this so devastating is the loneliness that follows, not the dramatic, visible loneliness of someone who has clearly been abandoned. The invisible loneliness of someone who is technically surrounded by life, who has a home and a partner and a routine, but who has not felt truly known by another human being in so long that they have forgotten what it feels like. That loneliness does something to a person, makes the relationship, no matter how painful it is, feel like the only source of connection left. And that is exactly the position the narcissist needs you in, because a person with a full life, a person with friends who see them clearly, a person with family who would drop everything and come, is a person with options. And options are dangerous. Options mean you might leave. Options mean there are people who would help you go. Isolation removes the options. It removes the witnesses. It removes the witnesses. The people who would look at your situation from the outside and say, quietly but clearly, this is not okay. This is not what love looks like. You deserve better than this. When those voices are gone, when the only person left to define your reality is the person who has been destroying it, you stop being able to trust your own perception. You start to wonder if maybe you are the problem, if maybe you drove people away, if maybe you are as difficult and as unlovable as they have been suggesting. And that doubt, that corrosive, relentless self-doubt, is the whole point. It is the product of the isolation. It is what makes you stay. So here is what I need you to do right now, today, before you watch another video or read another article or make another plan. I need you to think of one person, not 10 people, not a list, one person who knew you before, someone who knew the version of you that existed before this relationship rewrote your story. A friend, a colleague, a colleague, a colleague, someone whose number is still in your phone, even if you have not called it in years. And I need you to reach out, not to explain everything, not to make a session or a case or a plan, just to say hello, just to remind yourself and them that you are still there. Because one of the most powerful things you can do inside a system built on your isolation is refuse to be fully isolated. One connection, one thread back to the world that existed before them. That thread is not small. That thread could save your life. The fourth secret sign is the slow murder of your identity. And before you tell yourself that sounds dramatic, I want you to stay with me for just a moment, because this is the sign that most people never name, even after they have left, even after years of healing, even when they can clearly articulate every other form of abuse they experienced. This one stays buried the longest because it does not feel like something being done to you. It feels like something that is simply happening. It feels like you are changing, evolving, becoming more realistic, more mature, more aware of your own flaws. It feels from the inside like growth, but it is not growth. It is demolition dressed up as self-improvement. And by the time you realize what has been taken, you are standing in the ruins of a person you barely recognize, mourning a version of yourself you are not even sure you can get back. Here is how it works. It starts with your opinions. Small ones at first. You mention a movie you love, and they find a way to make you feel fool, is for loving it. You share an idea at dinner, and the response is not engagement, but a kind of patient, condescending correction that leaves you feeling like you spoke out of turn. You laugh too loudly at something, and the look they give you across the room is so subtle, so quick, that you cannot even call it out, but you feel it in your body. And slowly, so slowly, you start to edit yourself before you speak. You run your thoughts through an internal filter, asking not, is this true, or is this interesting, or is this me, but will this be okay? Will this be accepted? Will this be safe? And the version of you that comes out the other side of that filter is quieter, smaller, more careful, less alive. Then it moves to your ambitions. The career you were building before you met them, somehow never quite recovered from the disruption of the relationship. The business idea you had gets met with so many practical objections, so many subtle suggestions that you are not quite ready, not quite equipped, not quite realistic, that eventually you stop mentioning it. The creative work you used to do, the writing or the painting or the music that was yours, that came from the deepest part of who you are, gets crowded out by the noise and the chaos and the exhaustion of managing the relationship. One day you realize you have not done that thing, that true, essential, yours alone thing in knots, maybe years. And when you try to remember why you stopped, there is no single moment you can point to, just a slow fade, just a gradual convincing that it was not that important anyway, that you were not that talented anyway, that it was a nice dream, but this is real life. And then it moves to your values, the things you believed about yourself, about the kind of person you were, about the lines you would never cross. You used to think of yourself as kind, as honest, as someone with integrity. But living inside this relationship has required you to do things that person would never have done. You have lied to protect them. You have made excuses for behavior you know is indefensible. You have stayed silent when you should have spoken. You have looked the other way. And every time you did, every time you chose survival over integrity, a small piece of the story you told yourself about who you are got a little harder to believe. Until the person you used to be, the person who had opinions and ambitions and values and a laugh that filled rooms, feels less like you and more like someone you used to know a long time ago. This is what I mean by the slow murder of identity, not a dramatic ending, a quiet disappearance, a person who is technically still alive, but who has been so thoroughly hollowed out that the life happening inside them is barely recognizable as theirs. And the end, Narcissist who orchestrated this does not see it as destruction. They see it as success. Because a person without a strong sense of self cannot leave. A person who no longer trusts their own judgment, their own desires, their own worth, is a person who will keep returning to the one source of definition left. Even if that source is poisonous, even if that source has been the cause of the hollowing all along. But here is the truth I most need you to hear. And I need you to hear it. Not just in your mind, but somewhere deeper than that. The self that was taken from you is not gone. Identity is not a thing that can be permanently destroyed by another person, no matter how long they worked at it, no matter how thorough the demolition. It is buried, it is quiet, it is waiting under everything they piled on top of it. And the proof that it is still there is the fact that you are watching this right now. Because the part of you that sought out this video, that typed those words into a search bar, that sat here for the last several minutes, listening and feeling that weight of recognition in your chest, that is not a broken person. That is a person fighting to find their way back to themselves. That is identity refusing to be fully erased. That is you, the real you, still alive underneath everything, still reaching toward the light. You are not who they told you you were. You are never what? Oh, they told you you were. And the life that was interrupted by this relationship, the version of you that had dreams and took up space and laughed without calculating the cost. That life is not behind you. It is ahead of you. It has been waiting patiently for exactly the moment when you finally decided that surviving was no longer enough. That you were ready not just to escape, but to return to your opinions and your ambitions and your values and your laugh, to return to yourself. And that moment, if you let it, can be right now, not tomorrow, not when things are more settled or more certain or more safe. Right now, in this breath, in this decision to keep watching and keep learning and keep fighting for the life that was always meant to be yours. Subscribe to this channel because this community exists for exactly this reason. For the moments when you need someone to remind you of who you are. For the days when the fog is thick and the doubt is loud and you need a voice that tells you the truth plainly and without apology. You are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are not the sum of what was done to you. You are the person who survived it, and that person is extraordinary. That person is powerful beyond anything the narcissist ever allowed you to see. And that person deserves to live fully and freely and completely in the life that is still waiting just on the other side of this.